to Reverend Sheldon Ganberg, PhD. Reverend Dr. Sheldon Ganberg is one of the co-pastors at Colby Memorial Temple and director of Lyceum, known as Adult Sunday School. He is also an SCSC-MA certified medium, healer, and teacher, and teaches classes and workshops here at the camp. Reverend Sheldon has served on a number of committees, including the Education Committee and the Board of Trustees. I'm also very lucky that he's my husband, and he's actually the first one in my life that really taught me what unconditional love really is. So I'm very grateful to him. Yeah. Yeah, he's my angel. So hold on one second here. Let me get my papers out of his way. So let's give him a warm welcome. Oh, I'm sorry, hon.
Got to get all my gear in order here. I just want to stand here and connect with all your energy. I see all your heart chakras are wide open here. That's wonderful. Yeah. Can you hear me okay? Okay, good. Good. We're just getting our sea legs in place here with our brand new sound system. So it's really exciting. Change, change, change. That's what we're experiencing here in Cassadaga and our weather patterns, and so I thought I would share with you about believing. What do you really believe? No one can deny that we're living in a time of change, as well as uncertainty. Perhaps the only thing that is certain in life is that it will change. Change is an inevitable part of our human experience and human existence. The seasons are constantly changing, and you can count on that. And as we grow older, our body changes, and you can count on that too. That's for sure. I woke up this morning and my joints spoke to me with the cool weather. Our relationships change as well. Our healthcare system, our interest rates, and the leadership of our country is in a process of major change right now. Good or bad, who knows? It is what it is. Our planet Earth right now is impacted by global warming, and as a result, our weather patterns are changing with an increase of hurricanes as well as their intensity. And this morning, I just looked at a message on my phone from Scientific America, and they said that the Earth has tilted 31.5 inches. So in reality, our Earth is changing. The whole Earth is changing. And so my point is that most of us are experiencing extraordinary changes in our lives, physically, emotionally, spiritually, and economically, and in our environment. The question is, how do we cope with all the changes that are coming about? For many of us, our initial reaction to change is fear. We often fear the unknown. What do we do? What do we hold on to when our fear comes up? How do we trust life when our foundation is shaken? I don't know about you, but for me, in times of crisis and change, I come face to face with this one very question. What do I really believe? What do I really believe about my relationship with God or my spiritual connection? Many years ago, when I was in Unity Seminary, there was a requirement that each ministerial student had to do, which was to create 2 documents before ordination. The first document was our personal credo. In other words, when push came to shove, what did I really believe about my relationship with God? The second document was, how did my belief system about God impact my life, especially in crisis or during times of change? This process was one of the most powerful experiences that I had in seminary. To my surprise, most of the ministerial students had a slightly different perception of what God is for them. In spiritualism, we have a declaration of principles that reflect our belief system as a religion, a philosophy, and a science. And presently, there are 9 principles or 9 concepts. The first 2 principles state, we believe in infinite intelligence. The second is, we believe that the phenomena of nature, both physical and spiritual, are expressions of infinite intelligence. In other words, some of us find our spiritual connection through nature, at the ocean, at the forest, reading sacred texts, meditating, mediumship, or perhaps sharing each other's truth from heart to heart. From my perspective, if you want to know what you really believe, watch how you act and feel during times of change and during times of crisis. I encourage you all, during your times of reflection and reflective meditation, to examine what your go-to beliefs are about God or infinite intelligence during times of change, and how it shows up for you during difficult and challenging times. That's when you really know. From my perspective, there is no one set of universally healthy beliefs. We all perceive God differently. People are different from one another. We come from different cultures, different backgrounds. And so there's no one perception of ideologies. Each person must search their own soul for the pattern of beliefs that lead to good health, joy, fulfillment, and inner peace. As I said before, most people are not consciously aware of what they really believe until some crisis occurs. All of us have an unwritten credo. A credo is a constellation of beliefs that impact the major questions that we ask about life and our place or purpose in it. Whether we are consciously aware of it or not, what we really believe affects how our life is viewed and experienced. And we're shaped according to our life's experiences. Attitudes and beliefs are the basis of the reactions or responses to everything that happens in our life. Almost every existential question we can ask is related to a belief about God, humankind, and humankind's relationship with God. Some of the existential questions asked may be about death and dying, relationships, health, prosperity, personal development, political systems, science, origin of the universe, and war and peace. Unless we're able to connect with God on a personal and heartfelt level, feeling centered in the midst of change would be very challenging, to say the least. When we are in the midst of change, our faith often gets shaken. Change often tests our faith. Change often raises questions such as, what is my foundational belief system? Is my foundation my will or thy will in times of doubt and fear? When life isn't going my way, do I feel as though the universe is working for me or against me? When life isn't going my way, do I use my will to try to control everything or everyone around me? I had to deal with that one early on. Or do I let go and surrender to something greater than myself, such as infinite intelligence? In spiritualism, the seventh principle states, we affirm the moral responsibility of the individuals and that we make our own happiness or unhappiness as we obey or disobey nature's physical and spiritual laws. And so, with this principle, we are reminded that we have the capacity to change our beliefs if it no longer serves us or if our perception has changed. Yes, indeed, the spiritualist principles are a great model to follow, spiritually speaking. However, there's another mechanism living and having its being in our psyche. It's called embedded theology. This is the theology that has been passed down from religions we grew up with and taught by our parents, family, teachers, as well as with the friends that we keep. For example, quite a number of years ago, I went through a dark night of the soul experience. I call this my Job experience. Here's where my embedded theology came in. Job, in the Old Testament, was a wealthy man living in a land called Uz, with his large family and extensive flocks of sheep. And I quote, he was blameless and upright, always careful to avoid doing evil. One day, Satan, the adversary, appeared before God in heaven. God boasted to Satan about Job's goodness, but Satan argued that Job was only good because God has blessed him with abundance. Satan then challenged God that if given permission to punish the man, Job would turn and curse God. God then allowed Satan to torment Job to test his bold claim, but he forbid Satan to take Job's life in the process. Now, bear with me here. As spiritualists, we don't believe in the concept of Satan, and we don't believe that God is an outside force that will punish us. However, many of us have an embedded theology stored in our subconscious mind. The first step in transforming and possibly transcending some of the embedded theology that doesn't work any longer in our lives is to become aware of what it is and what shape and form it takes. Here's how my embedded theology kicked in for me. Many years ago, during my first marriage, it fell apart. My business went bankrupt, and my book contract with a major agent and publisher fell through. All of this happened around the same time. And so I became extremely angry at God, and I was even questioning the existence of God. I felt that I did everything right according to the golden rule. I loved my wife, at least I thought I did, and was faithful to her. I was a good father to my son. I was a good provider to my family, and I practiced the golden rule to the best of my ability. And yet I felt that God punished me, and he got me good. See, I really believed that if you did this and this and this and this and did everything perfectly, that blessings would come to me the way I wanted them to. During that time, my belief system was that God was not outside of us. See, this was my core belief system, my new belief system, was that God was not outside of us. I believed in infinite intelligence, and I was a spiritualist. I believed that all of life was a lesson and a part of my soul's evolution. Yet, I reverted back to my old belief system or embedded theology because of the impact of the traumatic experience. It was like a reflex. I had no idea that's what was going on. Now, in retrospect, many lessons were learned. I'm married to my present wife, who I really and truly love, and I feel blessed with a wonderful life. At that time, I felt that the universe was against me, and I felt like a victim. And so, I have some questions for you. What was your understanding of God as a young child and person? What is your present understanding of God? Has your understanding of God changed over the years? How? Have there been times when you were in the midst of change or crisis or experienced trauma that you fell back into your embedded theology or belief system? Were there times in your life when you wrestled with your understanding or perception of God? How did you move through it? Is God a loving God or a punishing God when life goes wrong? Is the universe working with you or against you? And lastly, what process takes place, or how do you feel internally when another's belief system opposes yours. All the sacred texts and spiritual teachers express spiritual truths in many different ways. It's important to know that the writers and the teachers of our sacred text and teachings are only humans. What they write and teach is their own perception of the truth. They are men and women just like you and me. So the question is, what do I really believe? What can you take to the bank in the midst of crisis and change? From my perspective, spiritual community is about sharing from each other's truths in a safe, non-judgmental place. It's about sharing our own personal and unique beliefs about God or spirit, as well as our doubts. We're here to support each other during our journey towards wholeness, or shall I say, holiness. Books and teachers bring us part of the way. But how do we apply spiritual principles in our life in a practical way? Not just in our heads, but in a practical way. The only way I know of doing this, to some extent, is to momentarily let go of the books and the teachers and ask ourselves one profound question. What do I really believe? God bless you all.
Thank you, Sheldon. That was very, very inspiring, very thought-provoking. During our musical interlude now, we will be passing the basket, and we thank you in advance for your generosity. Our musical interlude will be I Believe, the song I Believe, and we'll be playing the Dolly Parton version of it.
I believe for every drop of rain that falls, a flower grows. And I believe that somewhere in the darkest night, a candle glows. I believe for everyone who goes astray, someone will come to show the way. Yes, I believe. Oh, I believe. I believe above the storm, the smallest breath will still be heard. I believe that someone in the great somewhere hears every word. Every time I hear a newborn baby cry, or touch a leaf, or see the sky, I believe.
love that song. Well, let us say a prayer of gratitude for all the offerings.